Each generation comes to a point where it stops, takes in the world, and makes a quiet choice. This time, we've solved money. Not made it better. Not polished it. Not made it more secure. Solved it. Through better data. Smarter models. Faster markets. A new vocabulary that transforms uncertainty into formulas and risk into something that feels manageable, civilized. And every time, history holds its breath. Because beneath every new system, every innovation, every leap forward, one element remains constant. Human nature. And human nature stays faithful to its delusions. This time is different. For words that have accompanied more financial catastrophes than faulty calculations ever have. They were said in 17th century Amsterdam. In 1920s New York. In Silicon Valley in the late 1990s. And by policymakers who brought more credentials than humility. Every time, the conviction was genuine. Every time, the outcome was known. This is economic story, where money, power, and history meet. And where nothing is ever as straightforward as it seems. This isn't a tale of one collapse. Not one bubble. Not one poor choice. It's about something more profound. More subtle. More enduring. Why the same financial delusions come back, era after era, even as the world grows wealthier, wiser, and more advanced. If markets were purely logical, economic history would be dull. Straightforward. Easy to foresee. But markets aren't mechanical. They are reflections. They show fear and confidence. Greed and refusal. Hope and dread, often all at once. And when enough people trust the same reassuring story, delusion gradually solidifies into collective truth. Pull back from the specifics. Set aside the years, the names, the tools. Watch the rhythm. In the 1630s, Dutch traders persuaded themselves that tulip bulbs had moved beyond farming and become a new form of wealth. Prices lost touch with utility. Reason trailed behind price. And anyone who doubted it just didn't get the market. 3 centuries on, investors said the very same thing about radio stocks. Then came the conglomerates. Then the dot-coms. Then housing. Different centuries. Different assets. Identical logic. What changed was never the illusion. Only the costume. Every era dresses its optimism in the most advanced language of its time. Empires. Industrial productivity. Financial engineering. Algorithms. Liquidity. New paradigms. Sophistication grows. Vulnerability remains. Because illusions don't survive by being obviously false. They survive by being emotionally useful. One of the oldest among them is the belief in permanent growth. The idea that progress, once achieved, becomes a law of nature. That tomorrow must be bigger than today, not because of discipline or effort, but because that's simply how the system works now. Empires believed it. Corporations believed it. Governments believed it. Households still do. Growth stops being a result. It becomes a promise. And once growth is assumed, anything threatening it begins to feel temporary. A glitch. A misunderstanding. Something that can be fixed with the right lever. When growth falters, societies rarely question the belief itself. They question the obstacle. Credit expands. Rules loosen. Risk gets pushed forward in time. Pain isn't eliminated. It's deferred. And that's where illusion hardens into structure. As systems grow more complex, another belief quietly settles in. That complexity equals safety. That slicing risk, modeling it, insuring it, dispersing it, somehow makes it disappear. But complexity doesn't remove risk. It redistributes it. Obscures it. Delays its visibility. When no one fully understands the system anymore, fear fades. And when fear fades, caution disappears along with it. If complexity prevented failure, the most sophisticated financial systems in history wouldn't keep collapsing so publicly. But complexity serves another purpose. It creates distance between cause and consequence. It lets responsibility dissolve into process. It makes failure feel technical instead of human. Most of all, it fosters the illusion that someone, somewhere, is in control. That belief is among the most powerful economic sedatives ever created. Central banks, regulators, institutions, societies place enormous psychological weight on the idea that there is a cockpit, and someone competent is sitting in it. Not because it's always true, but because believing it keeps the system moving. Confidence, after all, is a form of currency. History shows control is often reactive, fragmented, constrained by incentives that rarely align with long-term stability. Decisions are made under pressure, with incomplete information, amid political consequences. The appearance of control buys time. It does not guarantee outcomes. The costs never disappear. They shift. Debt pulls future growth into the present. Inflation quietly reduces obligations. Bailouts absorb losses into systems instead of individuals. Or at least, that's how it's sold. Each mechanism feeds the same illusion. That pain can be managed without being paid. That consequences can be postponed indefinitely. That someone else will absorb the impact. History is ruthless about one thing. Costs always surface. And they never land evenly. Some exit early. Some gain disproportionately. Some never recover. Entire generations can do everything right, and still inherit a system shaped by decisions they never voted for. That isn't a moral failure. It's a structural one. The most dangerous moment in any economic cycle isn't collapse. It's confidence. The belief that the system has evolved beyond its own history. That risk has finally been mastered. That skeptics simply don't get it. History doesn't repeat because it wants to. It repeats because human psychology hasn't evolved at the same speed as financial systems. And within that gap, illusions thrive. It isn't ignorance that makes them so resilient. It's familiarity. By the time stress emerges, most inside the system have never known anything different. The rules seem natural. The incentives appear permanent. The structure feels inevitable. To question it sounds less like wisdom, and more like heresy. After each collapse, societies vow restraint. They erect safeguards. They write regulations so thick they feel safe. But memory fades faster than structures decay. Safeguards turn into obstacles. Rules begin to feel inefficient. Caution starts to feel excessive. New actors enter the system. They inherit the rewards, not the scars. Warnings sound like myths from a less advanced time. This is how illusion quietly regains its ground. Economic cycles don't demand collective stupidity. They demand collective amnesia. The modern world hasn't escaped this pattern. It has accelerated it. Information travels instantly. Capital crosses borders in milliseconds. Yet decisions are still filtered through the same emotional machinery that once guided merchants by candlelight. The tools are sharper. The instincts remain the same. Short-term success is mistaken for proof. Rising prices are confused with value. Complexity is treated as intelligence. And when something works long enough, people stop asking why, and start assuming it always will. Among the most dangerous modern illusions is the belief that knowledge alone protects us. That more data equals greater safety. But information doesn't create wisdom. It creates confidence. And confidence, unchecked, is just as perilous as ignorance. Markets don't fail because the charts were wrong. They fail because humans overestimate control, underestimate rare risks, and delay accountability when the costs aren't immediate. History isn't a crystal ball. It's a mirror. It shows how easily comfort replaces caution. How stability erodes skepticism. How systems built to manage risk become systems designed to postpone it. And postponement always comes with interest. Financial freedom doesn't come from predicting crashes. That instinct itself is another illusion. It comes from understanding where illusions live, and refusing to build your life entirely within them. History doesn't punish ignorance immediately. It waits. It lets confidence rebuild. It allows new stories to form. And only then does it collect what it is due. The ones who suffer most aren't those who never believed the illusion. They're the ones who believed it had finally vanished. Not fear. Not pessimism. Just clarity. Progress doesn't erase patterns. It disguises them. The past isn't behind us. It's beneath us, quietly shaping the ground we stand on. This is Economic Story. If this changed how you see money, power, and history, subscribe. History already holds the answers. We'll show you where to look.